All right, let's talk about the offensive side of the football, and I want to start with the offensive line because I think that's the most obvious matchup going into this game. When you talk about our performance last year, the last time we played the Titans at Hard Rock, we had Dallas Thomas and Billy Turner starting on this offensive line, so we really didn't have a good offensive line to begin with. That's why we had such a poor performance against the Titans. Obviously, Derek Morgan, Brian Arakpo, Drell Casey, they all had a field day with our offensive line and completely wrecked our game plan in that particular game. So going into this game, our offensive line is way better, but that does not change the fact that Drell Casey, Brian Arakpo, and Derek Morgan can't still get after the quarterback. So going into this game, our offensive line really has to put an emphasis on pass protection and run blocking as well. We have to get into favorable down the distance. If we average 3rd and 10 like the last two games we have, we're going to lose. We can't average 3rd and 10 against a front of this nature. It's too good. They got playmakers on the outside that are aggressive, that like to jump routes, especially Adoree Jackson, who's obviously famous for that at this point. We're not going to convert third downs if we average 3rd and 10 plus, but we're going to turn the ball over as well. So we just cannot get in that situation. We have to get favorable down the distance. Now, sticking with the offensive line, we need a better performance out of Laramie. We really haven't seen Laramie Tunsil since the Chargers game. Even though he gave up a sack, that was really a busted pass protection. He had a great game in that game, and he was going up against – that was probably the best front seven we've played all year. I think without a doubt. When you talk about 2 Pro Bowl, All-Pro pass rushers in Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram, and Laramie did a very, very good job in pass protection that game. So we need him to, have a bounce back game in this game, and not even from like a technique or performance standpoint. Just clean up some of the penalties, stupid penalties like last week's game against the Saints. Illegal use of hands to the face on a corner is absolutely ridiculous. Even though it was such a ticky-tack call, I mean, it could have went both ways there, but it's still dumb. You shouldn't have your hands nowhere near corner's face. He should be on his butt on the ground. Laramie's too good for that, so he needs to have a bounce back performance. And as a unit on the offensive line, they just need to be less penaltied. Obviously, Jermon Buttrod and Laramie, they've accounted for most of those penalties. They just need to be a little bit smarter in how they play football in this game, because we can't get down the distance. We can't shoot ourselves in the foot in this game. We have to play mistake-free football in this game, and it comes down to those two. Those two really need to clean up some of those penalties. Before we get off the offensive line, I want to talk about Juwan James. Juwan James is having a Pro Bowl season so far. I mean, really has not surprised me, because last year he really was the most consistent he's ever been. And it has carried over into this season. I mean, he is one of the best tackles in football right now, especially at the right tackle position. I mean, Juwan James has been a very good player at that position. He's been consistent. He's been the most consistent offensive player on the Miami Dolphins offense through the first 3 games of the season. I mean, he is having a great performance. I would expect nothing less going into this game. So I just wanted to point that out as well. So it's really nice to see Juwan, but Laramie and Jermon, especially Laramie, which we expect a whole lot more out of, obviously. So much promise coming into the NFL, and he had a great preseason. He had a really good first game as well. He's just been like the entire offense, like everybody else on the offense. He's just been not like themselves. So I think Laramie, hopefully if he has a bounce back game in this game, it continues for the rest of the year. He's had harder challenges, before than in this game. So he just needs to play up to his potential, and just be a little bit more mistake-free than he has in the past. So let's move on to the quarterback position. So let's start with let's move on to the quarterback position. When you look at some of the things Jay Cutler has done not well, it's just technique issues, really. He kind of gets, I don't know, it's weird. He kind of gets unhinged, I guess is the best way to describe it. As the game gets out of reach, he kind of plays a little bit more sloppy than he usually does. And he plays, obviously, a little bit more gung-ho with the football in terms of protecting it. And obviously that comes with the fact that you're down by so much and you're just trying to get a play. So it is what it is. It's not his fault. But I have zero, despite everybody else hating on the man, obviously he's had technique issues. He's been thrown off his back foot when he doesn't need to be thrown off his back foot. He skipped some balls in the dirt in the Jets game. I understand that. But most of it is not his fault. Most of it is everybody else. I mean, when you talk about what the receivers have looked like through the first 3 games and how disappointing they've been, how disappointing this offensive line has been, it's not all on Jay Cutler. I mean, Jay Cutler looked amazing in that first drive in that Saints game. He's very, very capable of having a Pro Bowl year with this offense, and I have no doubt that he will do that. So I think from a Jay Cutler standpoint, what kind of performance we need from him is to really dictate the pace of this game. And I've talked about this before, but he's a veteran quarterback. He can help us stay on the football field. He can help us with those third down conversions that we've had in the past because of his knowledge of the game. He's been in this league 12 plus years now. He knows formationally, he's seen it all from a defensive standpoint. So he just needs to utilize his knowledge to the best of his ability to help move the change of the football. That's been an issue the last 2 weeks, is really managing the play clock. Really managing the play clock. I mean, it's down at 1 and we still haven't got everybody set. Everybody doesn't know what they're doing. He needs to communicate the play a little bit better, manage the play clock, and really dictate the pace of the game, because the time of possession is going to be huge in this football game, especially what the Tennessee Titans want to do on their offensive side of the football. They want to dictate the pace of the game, especially on the road. They want to suck the life out of each and every single quarter, because of obviously they have DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry in the backfield. They have a very physical offensive line with Tyler Lewan, Jake Conklin, and Ben Jones. So they want to dictate the pace of this game. So if Jay Cutler can utilize some of the knowledge that he's accumulated over the last 12 years to help us move the football, to get everybody communicate what the play is, get everybody on the same page, and move the rock, then really, really dictate the pace of the game, it's going to really wreck their game plan. And the defense really doesn't have to do anything. We just have to we have to dominate the time of possession. We don't have to dominate it. I just want, even if it's by a hair, we're winning it by a minute. That's a win for us as an offense, because that's what the Titans want to do going into this game, especially on the road. They're going to want to waste as much clock as they possibly can. So, again, if Jay Cutler can really dictate the pace of the game, it's going to help out everybody, not including the offense and the defense. When you talk about some of the other criticisms the offenses went under, in terms of a play calling standpoint, a personnel grouping standpoint, all valid complaints. I think in this game, when you talk about what the Titans want to do to us from a defensive standpoint, Dick LeBeau is a very aggressive defensive coordinator. I mean, if you've been a Dolphins fan for long enough, we've played the Steelers for many years now. We're very familiar with how Dick LeBeau likes to play defense. He's obviously zone blitz heavy. He comes from the Blitzburg mentality. He created that, for God's sakes. So he's going to do a lot of zone blitzes. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to try to get after the quarterback. He's going to try to jack up your timing. He's going to try to throw some interesting coverages at you so you make mistakes. So Jay Cutler, again, he has to recognize some of those things. He's got to be another thing that he has to do, he's got to be on the money with pass protection in this game. When you talk about checking at the line, that's why when the play clock, he has to get to the line and everybody's set with at least 20 to 15 seconds left on the play clock. So he can look at the defense, check to what it is, and then really help to pass protection, and get the pass protection right before he snaps the ball, because Dick LeBeau is going to be throwing these zone blitzes at you. Now, what Adam wants to do in terms of a game plan to counter that, if it gets a zone blitz scheme, and I know this is not going to sound something that Dolphins fans want to hear, but you really want to get the ball out of your hands quick. You want to run a lot of shallow crossing routes, some stick routes. Just find the opening holes in the zone, because they're going to be there. Anybody knows when you run a zone blitz scheme, there's always going to be something open. You just hope you can get to the quarterback before they recognize it. And you want to obviously disguise your coverage to confuse. Then you have to think when the ball is snapped and you're hit by the safety or something like that. Dick LeBeau, obviously, he loves blitzing safety. So my keys to the game on offense: play mistake-free football on the offensive line. Pass protection is going to be huge in terms of the play clock, managing the play clock well so you can check to the right protections. Time of possession, plays ran in terms of snaps, so staying on the football field, which goes hand in hand with time of possession. And my fifth and final one is executing the quick passing game. I think it's going to be very important in this game that Jay Cutler has to recognize whatever the coverage is when he's zone blitzes in terms of Dick LeBeau, recognizing it as fast as he possibly can, and the receivers have to do a good job of really executing the wrinkles in the quick passing game, because we've seen Tom Brady just absolutely surgically. I'm not comparing Jay Cutler to Tom Brady, but and it gets a zone blitzing scheme. You can really surgically just, in terms of a quick passing game, take advantage of it. So Jay Cutler has to recognize some of those things as quickly as possible and find the open man, and we really have to execute the quick passing game in this particular matchup. All right, let's talk about the defensive side of the football, which has been the brightest spot of the Miami Dolphins so far this season. I think in this game, I think Chris Grier did a great job of correcting some of the issues we've had on this defensive line. He got us a really good edge defender in William Hayes, who's just been balling for us. He got us depth at the defensive end position, obviously William Hayes, Charles Harris, that can really give Cam Wake a rest, and those guys can give meaningful, productive snaps when they get into the game, as opposed to Mario Williams and Jason Jones and Terrence Fede, who really can't give you playmaking ability when they're in the football game. So the guys that we have now are obviously more than capable of doing that, and they've shown that for the last 3 weeks. Obviously adding depth at the defensive tackle position, going out and getting drafting Vincent Taylor and Devon Gotcha, who have been godsends on this defensive line. And then when you talked about Jordan Phillips, the rotating of the defensive tackles it's just been brilliant. Just roster building on the part of Chris Grier, because it's really helped out Jordan Phillips, who we haven't seen the last 2 weeks, and I'm pretty sure he's coming back for this game, which is going to be a huge get for us on the defensive side of the football, and we really haven't even needed him. When Jordan was playing, he gave us really good stats. The issue with Jordan Phillips has been his motor, because he just, for some reason, he can't consistently keep up his play, but the rotational aspect of how we run our defensive line has really helped him out. And now that we have depth at the defensive tackle position, with Vincent Taylor and Devon Gotcha, when they come in, they can dominate a game as well. So it's just, thank God Chris Grier did what he did, because he's done a great job of fixing the defensive line. With saying that, when you look at what the Titans did to us last year, they just played smash mouth football, and they've been doing that to everybody they've played so far this season. We just have to take our defensive line is so much improved from a year ago. It's not even close. It's not even close. The talent on this defensive line, when you talk about the versatility, the depth, the playmaking ability, and obviously the run defense is just insanely good. I mean, even without Lawrence Timmons and Jordan Phillips, they were dominant, and that's saying something, because those two players, what they've given us. I mean, obviously Jordan Phillips has had his issues, but what he did for us in the week 1, he played well. He played very well on an unlimited snap count. And Lawrence Timmons has obviously been balling out ever since he got here. So being as dominant as we were against the run without those two is a very good sign for the Dolphins. And obviously Vincent Taylor, Devon Gotcha, and Charles Harris, especially last game, has really showed what they could do as well. So they can't. If the Titans, I know what the Titans are going to do from an offensive standpoint. They're going to come in, they're going to pound the rock, they're going to dominate the time of possession, and really wear down your defense. So if they do that going into this game, we have done a great job of fixing the issues we've had last year. This is not the same Dolphins team. So if they go into this game doing that, I think we're going to do a way better job than we did last year in defending it. We're a way better defense than we were last year. In terms of a line, and I think the linebacker unit as well. I think we're gonna do a good job again. I really do. I feel like from what we've seen so far, obviously this is gonna be the toughest test in terms of a run game. But what we did against Melvin Gordon, who has been tearing it up against other defenses, we shut him down in the running game. And obviously what we did against the Saints, who love to run the football, and the Jets earlier on in that game. So our run defense is just way better than it was a year ago. So I feel fairly confident. I feel very confident in their ability to stop the run. Saying that, I think we're going to do a good job against the run in this game. Now the Titans, they're going to get their play. I mean, they love running the football. There's going to be runs where they make plays. It is what it is. They do that again. I don't care what defense they're playing. It's going to happen. So I'm not. I have faith in our defensive line. They're just much improved, and I have faith. But in saying that, and obviously what they're going to do from a passing standpoint, they love to set up the pass with the run. Mike Mularkey obviously is infamous for that, and we really hurt from that last year. The last year we played them, they killed us off of play action and misdirection plays. They love running play action and misdirection. That is all set up with the running game. You know what I'm saying? So if they run the football, then they can go to their misdirection, play action end around, hand it off to the receiver, he goes off the right side, or do all those crazy stuff, all the crazy stuff that you see them do. They killed the Seahawks with that, with misdirection plays and stuff of that nature. So we need to stop the run to stop that. So if we stop the run, we stop that. The number one thing is to stop the run. Now, when they start to pass the football, if we get them in a third and long situation or stuff of that nature, they love, obviously Delaney Walker is their go-to guy when you talk about a receiver. And what have the Dolphins struggled with, the past 2 years now, is stopping tight ends at pass coverage and really tightening coverage over the middle. So that was a huge part of the game plan last year. That's going to be a huge part of the game plan going into this game. We need to do a better job of cleaning that up and tightening the middle of the field. We saw that in the Saints game. I mean, Colby Fleener, Mahamanui, Shkalamanu, I don't know how to pronounce his name. We cannot allow that in this game. We have to tighten the coverage over the middle of the football field. If we do these things on the defensive side of the football, my keys to the game on defense: stop the run, tighten the middle of the football field, tighten the coverage over the middle of the football field, and containing the quarterback. Keep him in the pocket, especially on third down. And my fourth one that I really didn't talk about in this game, the only thing the defense has struggled with, and this isn't later in the game, like when the game starts to go along, just because I think this has a lot to do with how many snaps they've taken and how long they've been on the football field. So if the offense does its job, this won't affect us. But open field tackling, this is a problem with every defense in the NFL. It has to be better. You see a lot of, especially in the NFL today, a lot of teams screen it on third down because of the pass rush is so good in the NFL nowadays, especially when teams go against good front sevens. They screen it, they get the ball out of their hands quick so they turn the ball over or sack, fumble, or something of that nature. The only one who doesn't do it is Bruce Arians, because the man has balls and he has a vertical offense. So open field tackling is going to be a huge part of this game as well. So if they throw it short of the marker, come up and make a tackle. Alright, so those are my keys to the game on defense. That's my preview for this week, guys. I am Skagster1083, and I'll see you guys in the next one.